Hey everybody, how's it been going? Today I'm going to do the pre-release video that I know everyone has been waiting for. So I got my handy dandy notes, I got a bunch of cards to talk about, a whole lot of time, probably too much time because it'll probably go around an hour, and yeah, let's check out some cool limited stuff. So, we're going into a new set, new pre-release stuff, new, limited stuff. We're going to be doing this entire revamp with runes. There's new rulers, new draft rulers. People are, kind of not really sure what they're expecting. So I'm going to try and get to pretty much everything that, might be new, might be people want to know about, hopefully. And yeah, so let's try and make this like a sub-hour video because I seem to fail every time I try and do these. To go, I keep trying to shorten them down, and this intro isn't helping. So let's start. I'm going to talk to you first about runes, rulers, and what's changed. So first I want to do a quick overview of runes, what they are, what they added, that kind of stuff. And this is only limited to pre-release sealed format. So your rune deck is a separate deck from your main deck that can only have up to five rune cards. And runes are in pre-release are chant/runes, which means they can go in your deck or they can go in your rune deck. And you can play these cards, these rune cards, from your rune deck, and in order to do so, you must have what is called divinity. You must have enough divinity on your ruler or J ruler. So your J ruler has a number. It'll be, let's see, it'll be 6, 7, or 8, I believe. Let me make sure that's right. Yeah, 6, 7, 5, 6, or 7 in pre-release. So 5, 6, or 7, and basically the cards revealed in your rune deck, their total divinity cannot exceed the amount of divinity you have on your J ruler or ruler or J ruler. And so the way this works is that you get to cast these cards from your rune deck whenever the timing allows. So if they're quick cast, you can cast them at quick cast speeds, and if they're regular chance, you can cast them at regular chance speed. You need to pay the mana. You put a copy of the spell onto the stack, but for purposes, you basically cast the card. The effect happens or it gets canceled, whichever. When they're on the stack, they act as regular cards on the stack, on the chase, I should say. It's my magic leaking. And so once they resolve, and then they stay face up in your rune deck area. They do not go to the graveyard. They don't do anything else. This is because you have to keep track of how much you need to keep track of how much divinity you've been using. So if I cast one rune card that is a divinity of 3 and another that's a divinity of 2, I now have 5 divinity. Let's say I'm running a ruler with 7 divinity. I only have 2 leftover divinity is a good way to put it. That's not exactly the rules, but it's good enough. So you take your ruler's divinity and you subtract the divinity you have on your rune deck, and that's your remaining divinity and what other runes you can cast. So with that being said, let me introduce the new draft rulers that we're going to be looking at. Basically, they're all kind of the same concept with slightly different ideas. I'm going to start with the lowest divinity. So it's Arcana of Light. It's a basic ruler avatar. Divinity is 5, which is fairly low, but the judgment is 4, just like regular draft rulers. At the beginning of the game, put 3 limited counters on this card. Everybody knows what limited counters does, I hope. You pay 1 to remove a limited counter, and you produce any color mana. It's basically mana fixing. So this ruler has a divinity of 5 and has 3 limited counters. So yeah, that's 5 and 3. Okay, the best way to think of that. When it deactivates, it turns into Giant of Light. It's a basic J ruler, divinity 5, remove a divinity counter, and a whole lot of flavor text. It's a 10/10, easy peasy, right? Really simple stuff. The next ruler we have is Arcana of War. It has a divinity of 6 with the 2 limited counters. Okay, so the limited counters have lessened, but the divinity has increased, right? And it deactivates for 4, and it's the same thing. It's a 10/10 J ruler. You know, super simple draft rulers. The last J ruler we're looking at is Magus of Dawn. It has 7 divinity and only 1 limited counter. Okay, so basically the idea is you lose a divinity counter, you lose a limited counter and you gain 1 divinity, and then you lose another limited counter and you gain another divinity. So 7, 6, or 5 divinity, 1, 2, or 3 limited counters. Now, in my opinion, I think there's a lot of like play in what your rulers are going to be, and it's going to be completely deck specific. What your sealed pool is will determine what kind of ruler you are running. So I think it's hard for me to evaluate because, you know, these are all new. This is all new stuff. You know, we're all going into this kind of blind. But the way I would play this sealed format is you want to have the 7 ping-ponging back and forth. You want to have the most divinity you can based on what rune cards you have in your pool. So ideally, I would probably end up running a 7 divinity ruler with only 1 limited counter. If I had runes that I wanted to play in my colors, sorry. Now let's say I pulled, you know, 2 runes. Let's say I pulled 3 runes in my 2 primary colors, right? I'm playing red, blue, and I pulled 3 red-blue runes, right? And so I'm going to put those into my rune deck. Now let's say that I also have a white rune that I pulled that is really, really good. Now because I pulled this white rune, I can splash for it using the limited counters on your J ruler, right? So in that case, maybe I want to put that white rune into my rune deck. Let's say, you know, I pulled 5 runes that are super good, but, you know, maybe say only 2 are my primary color and the other 3 are all splashable runes that are still really strong, but they're all 5 colors. In this case, you know, you kind of have to make a decision. Do I want, like, I can have 3 limited counters, splash in those, you know, splash those colors, be able to play those runes. But now you're only running on 5 divinity. And basically 2 or maybe 3 of those runes are ever going to get played because you just don't have enough divinity. It's this really weird balancing act that is really going to depend on what your sealed pool is. In this case, if you're not sure, just go with the middle. Just go with the middle option. Do a 6 divinity ruler with 2 limited counters. That's really safe. It's, you know, the basic. It's like the most basics of basics. I will say, however, because of the way the rune deck works, you can put 5 runes into your rune deck. So in my opinion, you should always have 5 runes in your rune deck. You can do a couple things with your rune deck. You can bluff. So even if you're only ever going to play 2 of those runes, you have 3 runes you can bluff, you know, you can bluff your opponent with. If you aren't going to play any runes, you can still bluff your opponent with those runes, assuming, you know, you don't want to play them. So if I drafted 2 blue runes, but I'm a red-green deck, then I'm going to put those blue runes in my rune deck because I can, you know, I can fake out the opponent. I can, you know, keep looking at my rune deck card to, you know, remember what I have, and then they'll think I have something that I don't have. So, you know, there's kind of a sneaky way to go about it. There's another option is, you know, you can splash basically 1 other color, maybe 2 other color if you're running the ruler with 2 limited counters. That's, you know, that's 6 divinity. That's still pretty good. You can do like a 3 divinity, a 2 divinity, a 1 divinity. And but the point is, you can splash a really strong rune that you usually would have never played. So the important thing to realize is that runes are splashable, and there's kind of this weird. I have this weird idea that this this pre-release and future pre-releases are really going to come down to whose rune deck, who got better runes and whose rune deck is the better rune deck. Obviously, there's going to be an actual game, like you're going to be playing and there's going to be bombs and your overall pool is going to be really important. But if you pull, one or two really amazing runes, then you have access to those runes every single game you play. And you have to realize that. So if you find a combo, if there's rune combos, or if there's some rune that, is worth splashing for, then you should definitely play that rune. Because the importance of these runes to in pre-release in a format where you will get access to these every single game cannot be overstated. So yeah, those are what basically kind of an overview of the rulers, of the new draft rulers. If you're not sure, kind of go the basic route of the 6 divinity, 2 limited counters. But I really also want to get into the runes that you're going to see, because it's important to go into this knowing what your opponent can have in their rune deck and what they might have, what they logically will probably have. And I'm going to go through all the runes so that you can kind of see every single rune that you might see. It's very important that you go into this pre-release knowing what's going to be in those people's decks. So I'm just going to go down the list that I have. I think it's kind of set up. It makes a little bit of sense, but we're just going to go through. Light of the Moon. It's a Divinity 1, 1-drop white, chant rune, quick cast. You may pay a white less to play this card from a rune area. You gain barrier until end of turn. So, pretty decent rune. Definitely put it in your rune deck. See, the other issue is these chant runes can go into your main deck. Should they? I don't know. But this Light of the Moon can go into your main deck. Personally, I'd put it in my rune deck because, you can save yourself from a burn late game and, and survive something that a burn player is going to hit you with. So, really good. These are all options, like rune options or options to put in your deck, and there's way too much to that I could go into and I could ramble on, but I'm going to try not to. So you have Spear of the Valkyrie, 2 cost, Divinity 2. That's not bad. Chant rune, quick cast. You pay 2 more to play this card from a rune area. Most of the chant runes are going to have some kind of cost addition. This card deals damage equal to the highest attack among J resonators you control to target J resonator. If you control a Valkyrie, you gain that much life. So this is a really decently strong removal piece. It hits J rulers, which is great. It doesn't, they don't do damage back to you. The 4 cost in your rune deck is a little, overbearing, but overall, you're going to be paying a lot for these chant runes anyways in your rune deck. So I think this is pretty good. Whispers of an Angel, definitely watch out for that one. Whispers of an Angel, 3 cost, quick cast, Divinity 2. You may pay 2 less to play this card from an area. You gain 800 life and you draw a card. Now this is just, decent, solid cantrip. That's pretty much it though. I mean, do you play this? What do your other runes look like? That's everything you need to consider, and if you don't have any other good runes, play this. Definitely don't splash for it, but Chainbind, 3 cost, Divinity 3, chant rune. You pay 2 more to play this card from a rune area, so it's effectively 5. It's expensive. Resonators your opponent controls cannot block until end of turn. Now, this is very interesting because this is a late game finisher card. You have stalled board states so many times in so many draft formats, in so many limited formats, and you see it all the time. So this card gets you past all of that, and it lets you swing in for a game. Pretty good. Watch out for that. Sandstorm, 1 cost, Divinity 1. You may pay 1 red less to play this card from a rune area. This card deals 200 damage to each resonator your opponent controls. Now, this is actually pretty interesting. It's really good, you know, really small board wipe, gets rid of a lot of the small dudes, but who knows whether or not this is actually worth it. I don't know, you know, it's the nice thing is that this is free in your Rune deck. You just have to pay the divinity cost, which is, you know, again, there's so many moving factors, and it's really hard to kind of judge this when you haven't actually played or you know, played with runes. Period, and you know, we haven't really done any testing either. So, Scalding Breath, 2-cost divinity 2, chant rune. You pay 2 more to play this card from a rune area. I have to not say you may pay 2 more. So you pay 2 more to play this card from a rune area. So it's effectively 4 cost. This card deals 700 damage to target player or J Resonator. This is, you know, something that's a little really expensive, but late game when, you know, you're diddling around with your extra stones, and that came out way better than I thought it would. Extra mana, you can just cast this, and it's nice. Scorching Winds, 1 red, divinity 2. You pay 1 more to play this card from a rune area. 2 target resonators gain plus 400 0 until end of turn. This is a nice. I think this is a great aggro card. It's great in your rune deck. It's great in your regular deck too, which is the really nice card. There's a lot of commons. So, oh, something I forgot to say. You can only have 1 copy of a rune in your rune deck. So you can't run 2 Scorching Winds. You can't run 3 Scorching Winds. It's very important to note because I forgot to mention it in the rune, you know, in the quick rune recap area. But so you can't run multiples of these. You only run 1 in your rune deck. So, you know, have 1, and I believe the total you can have from your rune deck and your deck is 5, maybe 4, 5 or 4. I don't remember. So, yeah, if that made sense. Venomous Scorpion. Oh, why is Venomous Scorpion in here? You're not a rune. What are you doing? You're supposed to be in my bombs. Apologies. I'll fix this up real quick. Okay, no more Venomous Scorpion. That's not a rune. Invitation. I actually really like this card. You may pay 1 less to play this card from Rune area. It's a 3 cost, so it's essentially 2, which is really nice. Divinity 2. Search your deck for a card and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. It's tutors. This is just like possibilities of this and the combos. Like, let's say you drafted Belial, who, by the way, is an absolute monster, probably the best card in the format, in the sealed format. This gets your bombs. Like, not really splashable. It's really rough to splash this because it requires 2 blue mana sources, or will sources. So it's really difficult to play, honestly. But the effects are just amazing. So, good card. Massive Growth. 2 cost, Divinity 3. A little expensive Divinity. Chant Rune, quick cast. You may pay 1 less to play this card from a rune area. Produce 3 blue. Spend this will only to play Awakening cost. So this is, you know, this could be solid. It could just be terrible. You could draft 0 Awakening cards. Not really sure if it's worth a Divinity 3 either, but, you know, Scrap and Build. 3 cost, Divinity 3, Chant Rune. You may pay. You know what? This one actually does say you may pay 2 less to play this card from rune area. Oh yeah, because you can actually pay the full cost, I guess. Whatever. You may pay 2 less to play this card from a rune area. As an additional cost to play this card, remove X machines in your graveyard from the game. Look at the top X cards of your deck, put a machine with total cost X or less from among them into the field, put the rest on the bottom of your deck in a random order. Now, this is probably not that great unless you're running machines. And if you're running machines, ooh, this could be pretty good. Pretty good. So, you know, something to watch out for. Thick Fog, 3 cost, quick cast, Divinity 1. You may pay 1 less to play this card from a rune area. Target Resonator cannot attack this turn, draw a card. This is, you know, pretty okay, really good stall. Draw 2 cards, it's nice. Torrent of Energy, 3 cost, quick cast, Divinity 2. You pay 1 more to play this card from a rune area. Return target Resonator to its owner's hand. If you control a machine Resonator, put it on top of its owner's deck instead. So this is decent bounce. It's expensive. It's 4 mana, 4 will, and that's quite a a load. Okay, so next we have Explore the Unknown. 1 green, Divinity 3, Chant/Rune. You may pay green less to play this card from a rune area. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You may reveal a wind resonator from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in a random order. This is very nice. It's completely splashable. It's essentially free. The free part is honestly, it's maybe the best part of the ability. You can splash it in non-wind decks. You're still looking for wind resonators, so you probably wouldn't. But the Divinity is 3, which is really, really expensive. So, who knows? Next we have 3 cost in a single stroke. Stroke. Divinity 2, Chant/Rune. You pay 1 more to play this card from a rune area. So it's effectively 4. But this card deals 800 damage to target resonator. If you control a Bushido, destroy that resonator instead. I didn't actually check if they have Bushidos in the regular set, or if it's just a starter deck. But still, it's good removal. 4 cost is a little expensive, but who knows? Excuse me. Song of the Fairies. 3 cost, Divinity 1, quick cast. You pay 1 more to play this card from a rune area. Cancel target spell. Now, this is nice. This is something to definitely watch out for. This is like hard casting a Ferret spell, which people, or a Ferret spell, a Severing Winds, which people do a lot. So, watch out for this. This honestly might even be better in your, in your regular deck. Like, it's a 3 cost cancel is pretty decent. Yokai Festival. I actually really like this. X and 2 green mana, Divinity 3. You pay green less to play this card from a rune area, which is really nice. Search your deck for up to 2 yokai with total cost X or less and put them into the field. Then shuffle your deck. Now, this is a late game tutor with 1 extra cost if you drafted a good yokai, which is super good. There's a bomb that I'm going to get to later. It's Karura, who is just really good. I think this even gets Juve, but I'm not sure. I'm actually going to check real quick. This does not get Juve because he's not a yokai. But still, really good. It gets Karura. It gets any other yokai you might have gotten in your sealed pool. At the least, it gets you 2 bodies on the field, hopefully. Yeah. Miasma of the Abyss. 4 cost, Divinity 3, kind of expensive. You pay 1 more to play this card from Rune area, so it's 5. Destroy target non-darkness resonator. Whew. I don't know about this. This is expensive, it's color restrictive, and it's a high divinity. But the effect is pretty good. The nice thing about your rune deck is that you can put whatever you want in it, and it's so flexible. Like, you can flex that in at, the end of the game and destroy that really pesky guy. But, Reign of Tears, 1 cost, quick cast, Divinity 2. You pay 1 more to play this card from Rune area, so it's effectively 2. Put 3 -100/-100 counters on target resonator. This isn't too bad. At 2 mana, at 2 will, it's not, that's pretty decent. Very, very scary. Watch out for it. Whispers of the Devil, 2 cost, Divinity 2. You pay 1 more to play this card from Rune area, so it's effectively 3. I actually think this is really nice. Draw 2 cards, you lose 500 life. This is a really good effect. It's the card advantage is really nice because you're not actually losing this card since it's in your Rune area. Divinity is nice. The cost is fine. 3 mana for draw 2 is decently costed, especially from a Rune area. Even in your main deck, I'd probably play this. It's pretty. I like it a lot. Blessed of the Sun, Divinity 2, Chant Rune. You may pay 1 white less to play this card from a Rune area. J resonators you control gain +200/+200, and at the next end of turn, recover this card until end of turn. This is just really nice. Would go get well in some kind of aggro shell, aggro draft deck building that you do. The nice thing about this is that it's very splashable with paying white less. So, yeah. Unfortunately, it's not quick cast, but it's good for, turning those cards over. So, pretty good. Okay, so that's pretty much all the runes. You know, I just want you guys to know what the opponent is gonna have when you're playing. You know, when you go into this, you know, this guy and he's playing white green, and you're like, what is he doing? And you know, just I don't know, be aware that he could have white green runes, and that. But always be aware that you can splash for runes so easily with limited counters. If you so let's say you went into your, you know, you went into this and you drafted, um, let's say you drafted, let's say you drafted Karura, and you drafted just Karura, and you also drafted Yokai Festival. That's a combo where if you're black-blue, you 100, in my opinion, you 100% put Karura in your deck and you put Yokai Festival in your rune deck. And then once you hit 6 mana, you cast Yokai Festival using your limited counter. And that's like, that lets you play your bomb. It lets you play this combo of Karura and Yokai Festival together. And it's not color restrictive. Just because you're paying that one green, because you're paying 1 green less to play it from your rune area, you're not actually paying for Karura. You're actually paying for Yokai Festival. You're only splashing the 1 rune, and it's a strong enough rune that, you know, this has the possibilities of winning you games. Karura is really a strong bomb that is solid. She can't be canceled. She has protection with barrier, and she has flying, and she's like a 12/12 or something. I don't remember, but so these are the kinds of things you have to think about. You know, what runes can I splash? What runes are good enough that I can just put them in my rune deck and be safe with that. Your rune deck is so flexible in this, even in this sealed format. Depending on what you draft and what you get, there's a lot of possibilities to construct your rune deck, and games could go down to who has the better rune deck, and they probably will. You know, somebody who has that Yokai Festival and drops their Karura turn 6, like that's something that just kind of could win them the game right there. But I'm gonna bring up the bombs of this deck of this format, and you know what you want to see in your sealed pool, what you kind of want to build around if you get it, and that kind of stuff. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first bomb is Balmung. If you guys have watched my other pre-release primers, you know how much I value board wipe, and this is, you know, pretty cool board wipe. It's 4 cost, 2 whites. It's a chant, destroy all rusted resonators. It's nice, you know. It's board wipe. I love board wipe. I like 4-mana board wipe. I think that's a really good cost to pay for board wipe. It's a little situational. It probably means you got attacked last turn, but you know it's good. Even with limited removal, like you can do this just with one enemy who attacked, and that's still like good removal. Like 4 costs is fine to pay for any removal effects, mostly. Next, we have Commander of Minerva. She's a 2 white, 600/600 human. First strike. Other J resonators you control gain first strike. I think this is really undervalued. I didn't really think it was that great when I first saw it, but I think in limited and in pre-release, it's really solid. It makes your attacks really hard to defend against. People don't take damage. They win trades. They kill stuff with lower defense. It's just, she's a really solid attacker. And in some kind of like white weenie sealed pool, she'll just do really well. In like a white-red aggro shell, she'll do really well. Even in like just a regular kind of play dudes and attack with them, she's just still just be solid. There weren't too much other stuff in white that I really liked, so I'm just switching to red. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Do I have Ophiel in here? I don't have Ophiel. Oh. I was looking at my notes, and she's not in here. She's not in my files. Ophiel is a 5 cost angel. That's really cool. So I missed this card during the early recording. I don't have it in any of my folders. But it's Ophiel, Angel of Guidance. She's a 1200 flying angel. She has enter, search your deck for an angel not named Ophiel, Angel of Guidance, with total cost X or less, where X is a number of light runes revealed from your rune area, and put it into the field. Then shuffle your deck. Now, I picked her because, honestly, even without her enter ability, she's still really solid and, you know, will definitely come down and do work. Especially with the flying, she's just... So since she's so solid and her potential to combo off, you know, and get more bodies on the field is just really solid. Those are kind of the only 3 white cards I really like, though. So, yeah. Next, we have red, Anubis, Administrator of the Hounds. She is usually an 8 cost, 1500, which is very high, highest power and toughness you can get. So, you know, it won't be too threatened by much. She is an Ascendant. You may pay 1 less to play this card for each fire rune revealed from your rune area, that's a very nice effect. It gets her cost down to something manageable, which I think is what you need from her. Honestly, now that I'm looking at her, 5 red is a lot to ask. That's a lot to think about. So this, you know, I'm kind of bringing myself back from this card. But if a card would be put into your opponent's graveyard from anywhere removed from the game instead, that's great. Enter. This card deals 1500 damage divided as you choose to any number of target resonators. So that's amazing, and it's just really good. So is she worth that 5 red mana? I don't know. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'd still probably play her. But you definitely need kind of some fixing, and you probably need to be playing fire runes. But she's definitely worth it. Her effect is worth it, and her stats are incredibly worth it. So next we have Black Spot Tiger. I like this guy a lot. I like this as an aggro option a lot. 400 Beast Resonator. 0 cost. This card gains flying until end of turn. It deals 200 damage to you. Play this ability only once per turn. I think he's a really solid aggro answer. He gets in for a lot of damage. Aggro is usually going to be pretty good in you know, sealed formats and limited formats, so definitely take a look at him. I think he could be really threatening. Next we have Osiris, Lord of the Afterlife, 3 costs, 900, 500, Ascendant Resonator. Enter. This card gains swiftness unless your opponent discards a card. I love this effect. He either like attacks in, or your opponent, you know, loses a card. When this card is put into a graveyard from the field, you may discard 2 cards. If you do, put this card from a graveyard into the field under its owner's control. And I think this is really underrated. He has a really good ability to come back, and you know, you can recur him from the graveyard, which I think is really solid. You know, he then again threatens your opponent to instantly attack in, or they have to discard a card. So really solid. At 3 mana, he's super cheap, and he hits fast. He hits really hard too. So you can clear the way for him. He's even better. Ooh, Scorching Winds. I would have Scorching Winds in here. It's a rune, but honestly, it's good enough. It's good enough in an aggro shell to play in, you know, in your main deck. Like, this is solid as hell. Next, Venomous Scorpion. 1 cost 300, 100 swiftness. If this card would deal damage to a resonator, it deals double that much instead. Now, he's okay. I put him in because he is aggro enough to be worth it, and he's also targeted removal enough to be worth that. So he's not as bomby as I would, you know, as most of the other cards I've been showing, but he's just solid enough to leave in for sure. Jormungandr, Little Eater of Worlds. Sorry, some of this stuff's really small. 1 blue, 400, Beast Resonator. This card gains plus 500 for each growth counter on it. Okay, which is nice. Whenever this card attacks, you may, remove a Gluttony counter from it. If you do, remove target Resonator your opponent controls from the game. It's really nice. Good removal. Awakening for 2. This card enters the field with a growth counter. And Awakening blue, this card enters the field with a Gluttony counter. Banish Water Magic Stone, put a growth counter or a Gluttony counter on this card. Play this ability only during your turn and only once per turn. So this guy has ton of potential. So much potential that it's kind of scary. Like late game, this guy can come down for 2, 3, 4 mana. He is removal. He can be big with the 900, 900, and the best part is that you can just start chucking stones away. Like if you're close to winning the game, you can just chuck stones away and just nuke almost their whole field. Yeah. No. Well, you only remove the gluttony counter once per turn, basically. So you can only kill one thing per turn. But the idea is that you can make this guy like a huge beast. Like let's say you have like kind of a stalled board state. You play him. Your opponent's like, oh, I'm not really, I'm probably fine. And then you attack, right? And he's like, oh, well, I should probably block. He blocks, you kill it, and then you banish all your water magic stones. And you give him all these growth counters. And now he's like a 2400, and bam, that's all you needed for lethal. Like, don't underestimate this guy. If he's attacking you and your opponent, and you're low, your opponent could just banish all the stones and kill him. So watch out. He's a tricky one. That's why I put him in there. Next we have Lancelot, the Glass Knight. 3 cost, 600, 600. Enter, put a 100 counter on each machine resonator you control. Remove 300 counters from a resonator you control. Destroy target resonator. It's pretty good. Remove a total of 10 100 counters from any number of resonators you control. J resonator your opponent controls. Lose all abilities until end of turn. Destroy resonators your opponent controls. So, I don't think you're ever gonna probably play that last ability in sealed. So, but I do think this guy is worth it in a machine deck with his original, remove 3 plus encounters. Like that's just a really solid ability. It's really good in sealed, and even his stats are pretty decent. So yeah, I like him. The issue is that all 3 of those counters need to be removed from one resonator, so you can't like remove one apiece. But which is really a little disappointing, but still, there's some combos there for sure. Oh, I put Mad Hatter in here. Okay, Mad Hatter. Mad Hatter of Misty Woods. He's pretty good. 5 costs, 1000, 1200. Yeah. Fairy Tale, enter, draw 2 cards, and discard 2 cards. Honestly, his effect is kind of meh, but his stats are nice, and he's good. He's okay. So, I'd probably play him. He seems solid. Definitely not as bomby as, the rest of the guys I've been showing, but he's nice. Vivian, the Mechanical Fairy. I love this girl. She's 1 blue, 300, 300, flying. Whenever another machine enters a field under your control, put a +1/+100 counter on the field. Remove 2 +100/+100 counters from this card. Rest target resonator. Now she's a card that needs to be played around. You need her to be in, with machines, and then she starts seeing a lot of really good potential. She's so cheap and so good for her cost. Even at a 1 cost 300 300 flyer is still a very nice card to play. So let's look at some green. We've got Jubei, the One-Eyed Swords Master. He's 5 cost 1200 1000. Bushido Cat. So there are Bushidos in the set. Enter, choose 1, destroy target special magic stone, or this card deals 1200 damage to target resonator, or destroy target addition. He's really flexible. The removal is probably the best part of him and what you'll be playing him for, besides the 1200 damage. But yeah, definitely a really good, really solid bomb. He's a good one. It's a very good one. We have Karura, the Crow Tango. 5 cost, quick cast, 1200, 1200. Quick cast, flying, barrier. And barrier for chance, and this card cannot be canceled. Now, the best part about this card is that she's a quick cast, so you're probably going to get at least one surprise block where you can kill, whoever your opponent is attacking with, which kind of means that she gets like suitor removal, but she's a really good bomb, very solid drop the barrier chant is invaluable in, you know, these kind of formats. She is really decent bomb. Like, she's, when you think of bomb, she is a bomb. She's the bomb. Yeah. But not as good as, I think, the next person. Azazel, the Fallen Angel of Gloom. I think she's really good. 4 cost, 900 to 1,000. She's a Fallen Angel and flying. You may pay 2 less to play this card if your opponent has 1 or less cards in their hand, which will probably happen a decent amount since, you know, you're unlimited and you end up top decking eventually. So, enter, choose one. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put a card from among them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard, or target 2 resonators your opponent controls. Your opponent banishes 1 of them. This is just, like, I think this is great. She's so well costed. Her flying is great. Her stats are great. Has tremendous upside when your opponent has 1 or less cards, and her entry ability is crazy good. Like, you have to target 2 resonators your opponent controls. So if they have 1 resonator, you can't use that second ability. But you know, you have to look at the top 2 cards of your deck. But anyway, she is really nice. The banish effect is great, and overall, she's just really good. Is she better than Karura? I don't know. You know who's better than both of them, though? Belial, the evil from the scriptures. Ooh, is he good. He is 6 will, 1200, 1200, Fallen Angel flying. If your life is 1,000 or less, you may pay 3 less to play this card. That's just gravy on top of his entry ability. Destroy all non-Fallen Angel resonators. And whenever a resonator is put into a graveyard from the field, this card deals 100 damage to your opponent. So I think this guy is probably the best bomb in the deck, in the you know, sealed format, in this format. Like, if you get this guy, I definitely go black. In fact, I think black, I'm just gonna say right now, black has the best sealed like cards in this set, in my opinion. Especially Belial and Azazel are 2 insanely good options. And Belial himself, I think, is just the best. He bypasses any of the barrier stuff. He bypasses just so much stuff. The board wipe is just amazing, and you know, the damage on top of that, he's great. Craving. Did I put Craving in? I don't think I put this in the Rune section. My bad. Anyways, I'm going to get into it now. So, Craving, it's a 5 cost, Divinity 3. You pay 2 more to play this card from a Rune area. So it's 7. That's really expensive. But your opponent loses 1,000 life and you gain 1,000 life, which is great. This is just for closing out games at the very, you know, the slog when you get to your 10 mana or 8 mana unlimited, because I think you can run you run 8 stones in your stone deck. But so this is just solid once that time comes around, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm gonna end the game with 1,000 damage for 7 mana, and yeah. Next you have Disgraced Knight. He's a 3 cost, all black, which is a little prohibitive, but 800, 700 zombie. You can pay a black to remove 3 darkness cards in your graveyard, so you don't have to be resonators. They can be chants. Put this card from your graveyard into the field. Play this ability only during your turn. I really like this guy for how much you can recur him. Like, you can probably bring him back 2 or 3 times, and that's Value City right there. That's Value Town. That's like, the value of that is really valuable. Okay, next we have Fresh Blood Vampire, 3 cost, 500, 600 Vampire. Flying, whenever this card deals damage, put a +100 counter on it. Now, if you guys remember Mikage's second daughter, I still can't remember her name. Something with an R. Anyways, very similar to that. If she gets in a couple times for damage, like, she starts getting really big and really scary, and her potential is just really, really nice. And yeah, I like her a lot. Next we have Life Severing Blade, 3 cost, quick cast, chant. If a Resonator you control was put into a graveyard from the field this turn, you may pay 2 less to play this card. Oof, that's good. Destroy target Resonator. Oof, that's way good. This is basically like this is like murder in Magic. This is probably this is the best. I think this is the single best removal option, like single target removal option in the set, and it really shows. I mean, just the ability to play this for 1 is invaluable as well. This, the ability to pay for 3 is invaluable. Like, that's insane for limited removal. Boy, this is super good. This is something that, like, you just the removal is just so nice that you gotta have it. You gotta have it. I like Look of Corruption. This is a great card too. Better Thought Control. It's 1 black. Look at your opponent's hand, choose a card with total cost 4 or less, they discard that card if this card is awakened. Also choose a card with total cost 5 or more, they discard that card. This is just like hand removal, hand disruption is actually really solid in limited most times. Like, this gets rid of like bombs it gets rid of your opponent's resources. And in sealed format, you need those, you need as many resources as you can get. So yeah. Next we have Minister of Grief, 4 cost, 500, 500, Human Wizard. Enter, resonates your opponent controls, gain -500, -500 until end of turn. Now, I brought this up during our original spoilers. Is this guy that good? I don't know. Does he board wipe, stuff less than 500? Yes, so that's why I put him in. And, let's be honest, he's just cool. I like him. He can be really strong. So, yeah. Ooh, Oborozuki. Actually, she's really good. 2 cost, black, 600, 600. I like it. Vampire Resonator. Enter, you may banish a Resonator. If you do, put a fresh blood counter on this card. Already, I like her. Like, that's some flavor, This card gains +200, +200, and flying as long as there's a fresh blood counter on it. Yeah, that's going to be a nice 800, 800 flyer who's getting in for a lot of damage. Whenever this card attacks, you may banish a Resonator. If you do, target Resonator gains -400, -400 until end of turn. Yeah, that's pretty good. Killing stuff that's under 400, and if you have a lot of sack outlets, yeah, she's getting better. And then her Awakening for 1, 2, 3, 4 for 4 cost. Enter, destroy all J rulers. Is this that good? Not really unlimited or sealed. I don't know. It's okay. It's one of there's a handful of ways to kill J rulers, but overall, her Awakening isn't like the best part of her. You definitely play her for the fresh blood counters because that's a good 2-drop. 8/8 flyer is a really good 2-drop. It really accelerates the game state. That's like 5 attacks and you win. Bam, like that. So yeah, basically that's about it for what I wanted to go through. There's a lot more I could ramble on about, but I think we're approaching like the 40-50 minute mark, and luckily we're under an hour, so that's all I really care about. But if I need to leave you guys with a couple tips, just like you're playing in this sealed format, you're probably playing around your opponent's rune deck and your rune deck because that's going to be the most consistent cards you have. They're extra cards in your hand. You can think of them like that. There are game-winning rune cards, and the rune deck is going to change up how these pre-releases and the whole game in general is played. So it's really important that you get down what you want to do for your rune deck. It's really important that you understand what you're getting into going into the games. Your rune deck is probably going to be, in my opinion, maybe more important than what your main deck looks like, because it's not as important, obviously, but it's gonna make or break so many games. And somebody, depending on equal skill and equal deck building experience, the person who made the better rune deck, or understands the rune deck and their combos better, is probably gonna beat out the one, who just kind of threw in the runes that he wasn't sure about, or it's just there's so much room to play with your rune deck, as long as you get good runes. Otherwise, you kind of SOL. But so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the pre-release primer. It was another long one, so thank you for sticking with me. If you guys are all still here, good luck as always with your pre-release games. And let me know how you do. Always I love hearing people come back to it in the comments and saying like, oh man, I went 3-0. I drafted Karura, Belial, and Azazel, and I just smashed everyone. Those are always fun. I once got second in the Kanza Tarkir. No, it was Fates Reforged. I think it was Fates Reforged in the pre-release, and that was really fun. I did the blue. What did I do? Blue, black, green? No. It was cons. No, it was Fate Reforged. Because in cons in the cons pre-release I did Jeskai. And that was really fun. But in Fate Reforged I did blue black. Pretty sure I did blue black because I played Silumgar's something or other, and that was really fun. Anyways, I'm just rambling now. I'm just getting, making this video look more threatening. Okay, hope you guys had a good time chilling with me, and I'll see you around the corner. I'll get my hand in.